Hello there, this is Daniele from Toolchefs, and in this video we're going to have a look at the new improvements that we've just released with Atoms Crowd 2 for the draw system, the OpenGL draw system. So first thing I'm going to show you is if you open the Atoms UI and if you go in the agent type tab, you'll see that there's a new agent type, which is the Atoms 2 robot, and this is the new character coming with Atoms Crowd 2. Like everything up here hasn't changed, but if you go here, you see that there's this new draw optimization box, and if you expand it, you'll see that basically there are some fields that we can play with. So all of these at the moment for the Atoms robot are checked. So if you uncheck them, of course the LODs won't be used by OpenGL. And basically, if you check them on, of course, you have basically 3 LODs. You can, of course, just have 1 or 2 or none. I mean, it really depends on what you want to do. So the first field here is the number of iterations that Atom is going to use for decreasing the number of vertices for your mesh. So this is an iterative algorithm, so it's not like basically if you do a step, so if you just say 1, we're going to reduce the points of your meshes just once by 20, say around 20%. If you do 2, the second time, the second iterative algorithm basically is going to basically take all the points that were coming from the first iteration and then try to reduce those. So basically it's an iterative system. So as many the more iterations you add, the more your mesh gets simplified. Here is the value. So in the if you use the camera distance mode, this is the distance to the camera. Otherwise you can also use screen area, and this becomes basically the area of your agent on the screen. So if basically it's this big, it's gonna have this number of iterations. If it's this big, it's gonna have these ones, and so on. So cool. So camera distance, I'm gonna use basically the default that we have just that is basically we're using with the default setup of the Atoms 2 robot. I'm gonna create an agent group, and this basically I'm gonna show you something very simple so we can actually understand how this new feature works. So if I also attach a state machine, I'm just gonna leave the state to 0 because we don't care. So this the draw optimization works with the skin display type. So if I this is the robot. If I zoom out, you see that the mesh is decreasing. Sorry, the number of vertices of this mesh are decreasing, so the mesh is getting simplified. Let's see if we can make it so that it's a bit more obvious. So I'm gonna open the Atoms UI again. So let's say we're gonna be closer to the camera, say 6, then even closer, say 300, and then at 500, something like that. Of course, this is gonna be, so you have to rewind. You see already the mesh has changed. So this is basically the first LOD. If you go very close, so lower the distance lower than 200, you see actually the full mesh. As soon as you start zooming out, this is the first LOD. So with the basically 6 iterations. Then we have the other one at 9 iterations, and then if you go further up, this is at 12. This is very, basically this feature is very, can improve your simulation anyway. Whenever you're basically browsing your scene, so you're navigating your scene, can really optimize your performances, the performances of your machine. So it's a good practice to set up some LODs for your agent types. If of course they have like meshes with a lot of vertices. Also, if you're gonna have like a lot of agents and they don't fit all the camera, because there is a new feature which is the Frustum culling, the agents are not basically visible from the camera. They're not gonna be drawn. So basically that's also another improvement that we have made in the new version of Atoms Crowd. And this is all for this video. Thanks for watching.